So I decided it was time to tackle the idler arm and its bushings. First thing to do is to remove it, obviously, and that's pretty easy once you've got the impact gun. What I do is not in accordance with the service manual. I don't have the special tools that they speak of. I don't think they're required when you've not got an engine in the bay. That's pretty much the only time I've done this. I have not done this to date with an engine installed. Fortunately, I would imagine it would be quite a lot more difficult. So I'm just in the process of removing the steering damper here. All of this stuff is getting thrown away. I'm not reusing any of it. Well, except the idler arm itself, but I will give that a paint job because it looks quite unattractive the way it is. Now, it's suggested to lift the lips around the center core. On this one, they were basically just falling to pieces, and these center cores were seized in place. I was unable to remove them, but that's not the end of the world. All I do is heat them up from the middle, and that makes this job so much easier. Once the outside starts to smoke, these things are ready to come out. Whether they like it or not, they're coming out. And if you keep the heat inside the tube, there's little chance of setting anything else on fire or damaging the car. You see how easily this comes out now? Before, it just wouldn't even budge. And the same goes for the bottom one as well. And with those removed, there's no need for fancy extractors. You can just tap the rubber bushing out from the top, and the top one will come out just as easily. One fully removed idler arm bushing kit. And of course I gave the idler arm a bit of a clean up and a paint job before putting it back in. I'm just greasing that hole just to allow the bushings to slide in easily. This is just silicone grease. It's fine to use on rubber. And I'm just going to reuse the old bolt for the purpose of pulling these new bushings in. I will not use the new one more than once. They're only designed to be used once. So this is a good use for the old one. And the grease allows me to actually get them started in the holes enough to thread the nut on the end of that old bolt. And then it's just a case of tightening it the whole way in. And once they're seated, job's done. Just remove the bolt and you're finished. You can start reassembling that idler arm. Now it's very important to pay attention to the service manual here because chances are, like me, you'll forget the orientation of these parts. I did this on my blue-black 124 and you'll see shortly that I assembled that incorrectly somewhat over 5 years ago. And I think that's the reason I've never been happy with the steering on that car. This is the way it's supposed to be, according to the manual. That top spacer washer does not come with the kit. You have to reuse the one that came with the car. Once it was torqued to specification, this is the kind of ease of movement, or lack thereof, you can expect from that idler arm. That's how it's supposed to be. And as mentioned before, this is a service manual showing the correct orientation of all of those parts. I wish I actually read this at the time I was working on my blue-black car over 5 years ago. I just assumed I had it the right way around, but I do not. I have the spacer washer on the top, not on the bottom of the idler arm. I believe this misalignment is why I'm not happy with the steering on this car.